this is not an exact science. Sometimes I remember several years ago when I used to cover football recruiting quite a bit. My editors used to always ask me, okay, you got to pick the guy in this class who's a sleeper or who's the best player in this class. And I said, okay, that's fine. You just look at the star rating. I said, no. You got to pick the guy that's under the radar that's going to do the best. And I'm like, well, that's a crapshoot. I mean, how am I supposed to know that? I can't, look at a crystal ball. I mean, there's going to be a guy in this class that's not highly rated that's going to end up blowing people away. There's going to be a guy that's higher rated that may not, fit the bill. That's just how football recruiting is. There's so many players. You don't know, obviously, how they're going to deal with being in college. And obviously, maybe not a lot of these guys play right away. So they're just going to develop differently. But this is a solid class. And you know what? I mean, recruiting, not only in football, but in basketball, it adds depth. And if you look at the way the Gophers were kind of burying the lead here, but, what the best thing that happened in the week. But, the Gophers beat Ohio State, number 3 in the country, their biggest win this year in basketball. And actually, under Richard Pitino, it's the first time they've beaten a top 5 team since they beat Maryland in 2016. And if you look at this win, a lot of it helped them with depth, the recruiting. Peyton Willis went out with an injury in that game, and Trey Williams came off the bench. And he didn't score a lot of points, but he helped them defensively, brought them some energy in the beginning of the game when they really needed a lift, continue that run. And, you talk about recruiting. Daniel Turu, sophomore, had a big game. Marcus Carr, he was a 3-star recruit in high school, and he scored 35 points in the biggest game of his life so far. Sometimes, you just got to hit something big, in recruiting right off the bat. And sometimes you get a guy like Marcus Carr who transferred in and has a big game like that. So can he continue to play at that level is kind of the question moving forward. But I want to go back to the atmosphere at the end of that game. Talk about it, Ryan. I know that you weren't there, but I mean, for 9,000 fans and for the student section clearing out there at the end of the game, that's the best atmosphere that I've seen with that many fans in a big game like that. So I was pretty excited to be there.
Yeah, and as you laid up for me there perfectly, I had to cover the game from home that night. But as a TV watcher, yes, that looked fantastic. But the way that I could approach this in terms of the atmosphere, there was several recruits there. Target number 1, Kerwin Fleming from Hopkins. Kerwin Walton from Hopkins was there. There's kids trying to get into my room right now.
That's how it is sometimes. You just never know. But no, Kerwin Walton is a guy that we definitely need to get in the 2020 class. And I mean, for them to have a game like that in front of a recruit in this senior class, and they still have a chance at in the state of Minnesota was pretty huge. But how about Martise Mitchell, who already signed? And, he's going to be part of the program next season for sure. And he was amazed. This is his first time seeing that atmosphere. And he was amazed. He said it was out of this world, that the atmosphere after that game and how the magnitude of that win. And I think guys that have already signed, yeah, you think, okay, we don't. Why do we need to impress this guy anymore? I mean, he's going to be here, but just to show him the type of culture, especially with the fan base that he's gonna be able to play in front of, was huge. And again, let's take the recruiting aspect out of this. The program needed this win. They were 4-5. They needed to get back to 500. It was a critical game to give them a chance to, maybe if they go on a run here, boost their NCAA tournament resume. So it was huge win in so many different ways.
That victory, I was able to talk to the recruits after the game. The number one thing that impressed Kerwin Walton after the game was Kerwin's ability to watch Marcus Carr attack and create for others. The way that he was able to see how Marcus opened the floor up, not just for himself, for the entire team. Kerwin was in the locker room with Martise, with 2022, one of the best point guards in the country, Trey Holloman, for his class. They were all there. They all talked about this win and what kind of great atmosphere it was. Same could be said for Elvis Najee, whose brother Zeke Najee is at Arizona right now being talked about as a first-round draft pick. Camden Heide from Wayzata. currently out with an ankle sprain, but Camden's was on the 16U team for USA. He was excited about the win. So in addition to getting a crucial win for Minnesota's season, they also were able to do it in front of a home fan base and in front of recruits that they're hoping to land, specifically Kerwin Walton, who is wide open. We just talked to him this week for Gopher Illustrated, and Kerwin's wide open. And he's looking at Minnesota, looking how he fits. And honestly, if you look at Kerwin Walton, look at what Gabe Kelcher does, what Peyton Willis does, these are guys that shoot the ball well in space, that have the green light to shoot, and that are good, hardworking position defenders. Everything I just said is the same thing for Kerwin Walton. So he would be able to step in perfectly, and they're putting that on display for him. So then, but the next thing Minnesota needs to do is go to Oklahoma State tomorrow and have success. And it needs to be consistent. And, you know, Marcus, you had talked about Marcus Carr having that big game. All 2 games ago, he was 1 for 10 from the field and had 2 points. So they need to find that level of consistency. But if they can do that, if they can go to Tulsa and defeat Oklahoma State, get that Florida International win, feel a strong 7-5, and then pull off a 10-8 or a 9-9 like type Big Ten season through the winter, you know, anything's possible. But hey, you're going to need the health to do that. And Peyton Willis, who knows if we're even going to see him play tomorrow.
Yeah, Peyton Willis is out for that game versus Oklahoma State. Richard Pitino said he says it's an ankle. You know, I've heard that it might be you know, something different, but it's a lower leg injury on his right side. And, you know, he's played a couple games with it. He suffered the injury in the DePaul game, and he just re-aggravated versus Iowa and then again versus Ohio State. So, you know, I mean, obviously, you know, the kid, he's a tough kid, you know, and the doctors cleared him to play. But again, now he needs the rest, and he's a guy that you definitely need. I mean, he's a junior. You know, you have your starting 5 has 3 sophomores, you know, and a transfer from Drexel who's never played in the Big Ten and never played in a high major conference. So Peyton Willis is a huge part of this team. I think they can handle not having him for a game or two, especially when the next game at home versus Florida International. But we're going to see what the depth of this team is made of versus Oklahoma State. I talked earlier about Trey Williams, the freshman coming off the bench versus Ohio State. Didn't score a lot of points, but he worked hard defensively. He plays hard. He's got length. He's 6'6", about 6'6". You know, he's just got to make better decisions with the ball offensively when he does try to score. But I do think that this is going to be a huge game to show the depth of this team. Because Trey Williams, you know, can't do it alone. He's going to need some help from Michael Hurt, a senior off the bench. You know, Jarvis Omersa off the bench to provide a spark that he's no longer there. But again, it comes down to Marcus Carr. We talked about it before. He's got to be consistent. Daniel Turu continues to be a force inside. He's going to have to do that again. But, you know, Marcus Carr is the type of player that this year he's not had a great road performance. And I think that they're going to need that from him Saturday.
Without a doubt. So much goes through Marcus Carr. Marcus Carr is the guy that starts the offense. He's the guy, if he takes a bad shot or makes a bad decision with the ball, there's 4 guys standing out there staring at him, thinking to myself, I just ran down the court and we're ready to play offense, and you just took it in your own hands and turned the ball over. That is a momentum killer. When Marcus Carr brings the ball towards his teammates and is able to create an open shot for them, this team rolls. When he attacks and scores himself, when the floor is spread, guys are moving, a rhythm gets going. And when your team gets into an offensive rhythm, you reel off several possessions of success. That's how you beat Ohio State by 20 points. When the ball doesn't move and the ball doesn't get open, you know, high percentage shots for guys, that's when you have struggles. And then, of course, we also have to remember when you have your 3 best guards, Willis, who won't play, of course, Gabe Kelcher, and Marcus Carr shoot a combined 3 of 27, 28, whatever it was, you're not going to win many games. So what they need to find is a balance. They need to have a balance in Tulsa if they are going to get this victory, which is I call it a road game. It's more of a neutral site game. That's why I keep saying Tulsa, but because it's in Tulsa.
It is a neutral site game, but it's a road game. I mean, it's like when Oklahoma State played the Gophers here in Minneapolis at US Bank Stadium. That was a road game.
That was a road game. So, but they need to balance these performances out. You go to Iowa, who's not very good, and you lay an egg. You come home and you demolish, really, the third-ranked team in the nation, giving them their first, loss of the season. You need to strike a balance. They need to strike a balance tomorrow, even though Peyton Willis isn't playing. They need to strike a balance. And that's a tough thing because Trey Williams, you talked about Trey. He did play well at the end of the night, but that was a 7-minute stretch or something of that nature. This is 30 minutes. How is he going to handle 30 minutes on the road against a good Big 12 team? They're not overseas playing in Italy. Was that what it was?
Yeah, it was Italy.
They're not playing overseas in Italy. This is and it's an improved opponent. It's going to be interesting to see if they can strike that balance. And
I don't know if Mark Bader himself could have stopped Marcus Carr versus Ohio State. I think Yoda would have said the force is strong in him. Offensively, he was on that night. I don't know if he can have a duplicate performance versus Oklahoma State, but I just think defensively is where they're going to hang their hat on. They're going to have offensive slumps and stretches where they can't score the ball. Marcus Carr, as hot as he was against Ohio State, he's going to have stretches where he's getting to the basket and he's not able to finish. So he's going to have to convert at the free throw line. And again, defensively is where they can really disrupt Oklahoma State. We're not sure if they're going to have their starting point guard, Isaac Likely. He's missed the last 3 games. 2 of them they've lost, but they did beat Houston last week. So I'm excited about this game for the Gophers. This is their last non-conference game against a high major, so they really need this win for their NCAA tournament resume. And again, congratulations to the volleyball team for going to the Final Four. And obviously, Gopher basketball team is doing really well this year with Lindsey Whalen. We're going to talk more Gopher basketball, and next week we'll talk more Gopher football with our bowl preview. This is Gopher Insider Podcast with Ryan James and Marcus Fuller. I appreciate it. TalkNorth.com, and visit also our Twitter account at TalkNorthPod, at TalkNorthPod. Thanks again. This is the Gopher Insider Podcast.